Cheers and welcome my friends, I'm Horath and these are 10 tips for playing machine empires in Stellaris Synthetic Dawn. Synthetic Dawn has introduced machine empires as playable factions, and I thought I'd put together some experiences and lessons that I learned in my Let's Plays and streams so that you can copy what worked and avoid what didn't. And now let's get to the tips. One of the ways in which machine empires differ from organic empires is that you have to build all your pops. You have to be always on the lookout for when a robot has been finished on a planet, then queue up another one or just build multiples. So that can be a little bit of a strain on your attention, but it also offers the upside of being able to pinpoint and decide exactly where which pops should go, because the game actually allows robots to create different sub-robots. Just like you can genetically engineer organic species, you can also mod your robots. It's a fairly early tech. If you research machine template system in the engineering tech tree, this is a prerequisite: improved servo motors. Just try to go for the industry techs in general. It's a fairly expensive tech, but it can be gotten rather soon. You can see that it is at this point in my tech tree. I haven't researched all that many techs before that. And if you research that, you get one additional trade point and you unlock the robo modding. So if you go into the species, this is our main species. Now we can create sort of subspecies or sub templates. Go over here, create template. You can decide how they should look. I'm trying to go for different looks because I sort of want to be able to visually see what kind of robot type I'm using. You can also go for a different name, and then you remove certain negative traits. You can also remove positive traits to gain some trait points back. And the way that I built these guys out is I have different robots for different things. So the beholders with this look, they are for mining minerals. The beholders with this look are for energy credits, and the beholders with that look are for science. And the way that I'm doing this is I'm not bothering with applying these templates to all my planets. That's not what you want. Or I mean, you can do it if you got research to spare, but I'm not doing it. The way that I'm doing this is whenever I build up a new planet, I just decide how I want to build it out. Like, this is mainly a mineral planet, but for those science spots, I just put down the science robots as well. For the energy things, I put down the energy robots, and for the minerals, I put down the mineral robots. And that way, you can actually get a pretty nice boost and actually make a virtue out of the problem that you have to build all the pops yourself. At least you can, with accuracy, put the best pop onto the best tile. So let's talk about expansion and colonization as a machine empire for a bit. I think machine empires should expand differently than organic empires, and that is mainly due to the fact that organic empires have just naturally growing pops, whereas machine empires have to build all their pops. Why is that important? Well, if you settle a planet, you immediately get an increase for all your Unity stuff. So your Unity cost goes up and your tech cost goes up. And the planet is just sitting there, and then you sort of have to grow your population on the planet. You have to build the buildings and work to the point where the resource output of the planet actually outweighs the cost increase to Unity and to tech. And if you're playing a machine empire, especially in the beginning, your mineral output might not be high enough that it can really be building robot pops on there all the time. So what I suggest is that until your mineral income is actually as high monthly as the cost for building one pop, which in my case, for example, would be 120 because my guys are luxurious, so they cost 20% more. But yeah, until you don't have that 100 or 120 per month, and you can basically keep the pop building on cooldown, you really should be very deliberate with expansion. Once you have that, once you have a good mineral income that allows you to keep the pop growth on cooldown, you can go ahead and use all that nice 200% habitability on all the planets. But until then, going for border outposts is probably a good idea, and also settling planets that keep your colonization options wide open. Like, for example, over here, the Ruthori planet is basically securing all these planets around it as future colonization options, because no one can colonize inside our own borders. So keeping the amount of colonies low in the beginning and then ramping it up once you have a good mineral income and can actually push out those robot pops is advisable. And if you can also modify your robots to increase their build speed, take traditions that increase their build speed or reduce their cost or both, then you're going to be in a good slot. So rather slow in the beginning, be disciplined. Try to take only really important planets that increase your territory, give you special resources, or secure future colonization opportunities. And then once you got your resource income built up, then you can go for maximum expansion mode. Machine empires are more reliant on energy credits than other empires, simply because they have to pay upkeep on their robots. There are certain ways that you can reduce the upkeep on your robots, like going for the efficient algorithms in the prosperity tree. There are certain tax that allow you to reduce it. But still, you're gonna have some energy problems, especially if you want to go for a big fleet as well. And because of that, I think the best Ascension perk for machine empires is the Voidborn perk that allows you to build orbital habitats. If you don't know how to get that one, you have to unlock the battleship, so the highest level of ship tech, and you also have to unlock deep space installations, so the highest level of space station. And once you got that, you'll be able to build orbital habitats for 5,000 minerals and 150 influence. And the good thing about these is that they're really good at putting out energy. So this one is putting out 79 because we're making use of some specialized robot templates over here that have the superconductivity built in. Now, the solar power processor, the specialized habitat energy creation buildings, have been nerfed. The output has been reduced from 8 to 6 in patch 1.8, but they're still pretty good, so they're still worth building. You can see that we're putting out 8.55 on this thing. So the whole thing is putting out 79 after paying for the upkeep on the robots on there, basically able to keep up 79 robot pops. And that is pretty decent if you consider that this is only a 12-tile planet, and that you can basically put these on most stellar bodies. So it's definitely a worthwhile pick if you're not following some super specialized strategy. I would go for these for the Voidborn pick with one of the first 1 or 2 Ascension perks. So let's talk about tradition picks for machine empires. I think the best early pick for a machine empire is synchronicity, because it gives you on adoption 33% robot build speed increase. That is pretty massive bonus, especially if you take it over the course of the whole game. And if you consider the fact that robots have no real way of increasing their robot build speed aside from picking that one trait that allows you to build robots quicker, mass-produced. So organic empires can just build a couple of breadbasket worlds and really try to push that pop growth modifier. And if you do that in a focused way, you can actually grow your population very quick, whereas the growth of machine empire is kind of capped. And so you really want this as soon as possible, probably as your first pick. And there are no other adoption bonuses that are going to give you quite as much of a snowball effect and quite as much long-term use as the robot build speed, plus the finisher effect of synchronicity, monthly influence increased by 1, is also very nice for machine empires, because you're going to be not having all that much disposable influence because you don't have any factions. So all that influence gain from happy factions, that's not a thing for machine empires. None of the other bonuses are really worth picking super early. They can always be picked later. Discovery is probably the thing that you should put next into your traditions queue. So probably adopting synchronicity and then trying to move through discovery is my favorite way of going about the traditions, because this gives you more normally discovery chance, which is quite useful if you want a couple of nice resource boosts for your territory and try to get levels on your scientists, and then also getting the exploratory firmware, gain research points equal to 1/10 of the monthly gain when serving planets. That's also super nice. And since the cost for adopting different tradition categories has been reduced from 10% to 5% per category, it's not going to be that significant if you just take the build speed in the beginning and then move on to whatever group you wanted to take. Maybe you're following a specific plan. I still think it's worth taking robot build speed every time if you're playing a machine empire. So since you're playing a machine empire, your leaders are almost immortal. I mean, they can break down, but it's very seldom. And if you take the synchronicity tradition tree and go for self-preservation protocols, they're even less likely to die. And that means that the traits of your leaders really, really matter, because you're likely to actually have your starting scientists over the whole course of the game if you treat them right. And that makes it very desirable to actually go through the list of scientists and try to get those genius researchers. Now, the genius is not as strong as it used to be. Because the actual expertise researchers, like over here, our Voidcraft guy, he has 15% research speed in Voidcraft. So if he's actually researching inside his area of expertise, he's better than a genius. And you got to keep in mind that their expertise also determines what kind of picks you get. Well, that's a bad example because there's no Voidcraft in there, but generally that increases the weight of getting Voidcraft picks if you have a Voidcraft expertise guy. But yeah, I would definitely try and make an effort to get the guys with the expertise that I want. If I'm playing for an early ring world and an early habitat Ascension perk plan, then I will try to get my hands on a Voidcraft guy. If I just don't care about that, I will try to get the Spark of Geniuses. I will also try to make sure that I get the Admiral with the specific trait that I want, because I am likely to keep those guys until the end of the game. Since I started playing Machine Empires, I have gained a new appreciation for Tomb Worlds. Tomb Worlds are actually really nice in terms of the science deposits that you get on those. There's a Tomb World over here with a bunch of physical science, some over here, some over here. Lots of research on this planet. So Tomb Worlds really work well as a specialized science worlds with an observatory on the spaceport and hopefully science ships assisting those. They can put out massive amounts of science, and since you don't care about the habitability as a robot, they make perfectly viable planets for settling. Something which I did not do with organics without having terraformed them first. Or most of the time I just ignored them completely, because by the time I could terraform them, I could also build ring worlds, and then they were kind of obsolete. So yeah, consider having a look at Tomb Worlds whenever you find them. They might actually be worth it just for the research on them alone. If you're playing rogue servitors, robots that grew independent after having to care for their biological species for a long time, and you conquer planets like, for example, primitives, these guys get automatically put into organic sanctuaries. Now, it might be that these guys are actually hiding valuable resources. You can't really build organic sanctuaries. They get created automatically, but it can pay off to just move them around a little bit and actually see what kind of resources are under them. If you've just newly conquered a planet, they might be hiding something that is useful to you. Like, I definitely don't want them on these kind of tiles. I tend to put them on food tiles, since that's the one that is the least useful for a machine empire. You kind of need some nutrient-based facilities, but not that many. So putting the organic pops on food tiles, if you're rogue servitor, is probably the way to go. Or just tiles with no natural resources on them, like this guy down here. If you're playing a rogue servitor empire, then you need to care about their biological pops as well, since you have the servitor morale. So you want to have about 40% of your pops as biological pops and the rest as synths. Now, what can be a little bit annoying is that these guys tend to grow on tiles that maybe you actually want to work. But what you don't want to do, maybe for having them grow on other planets as well, is maybe you don't want the population controls that you can just set over here in the species, right? Maybe you want them to grow on other planets, but not on a specific one. So what I try to do then, for example, on this planet over here, where I ran into that problem, is just queue up robots in all the 3 slots, and then they can't have a pop growing in any of the slots. That's quite useful if you wanna keep them growing on other planets, but don't want a specific planet to be taken over by these organics that need to be pampered, but shouldn't really be able to take away resources from you. If you're playing Determined Exterminators, a machine empire that is determined to destroy all organic life in the galaxy, and you run into energy problems, there's a very simple solution for your energy problems. Just take over a planet of primitives or conquer a planet from one of your neighboring organics, and then turn those organics into batteries. Like we have done over here. We're purging the native and primitive to gel, and we're gaining 8 energy for every pop where we're doing that until they're actually exterminated, which is in 175 months. So we have good, 15 years, I think, to actually kill these guys off and profit from their energy. Just make sure that you're not totally dependent on them and actually build up some energy gain in the meantime, because once they're dead, you're going to fall into a bit of an energy hole. So, but as a short-term solution, it's actually quite viable to invade a planet of primitives and thereby gain a massive boost in terms of energy output. If you're playing Determined Exterminators and you also have the Leviathans DLC for Stellaris, then you will be able to destroy the enclaves of artists, of traders inside your borders. They are filthy organics in any case, so you really won't be able to do anything with these guys. They're just organics that have to be terminated. But what you can do is you can actually destroy the outposts and gain a bit of a resource boost from that. So I have set up a battle over here where we've attacked the, what are these guys? The Zuracorp. If you right click on them, they're just gonna get killed. Come on, make it happen. Oh yeah, we're on slowest speed. I'm sorry. Okay, and once you do that, you're actually gonna gain a significant amount of minerals and energy. So if you're in an energy or mineral pinch, as Determined Exterminators, just destroy these independent enclaves. You really can't do anything with them anyway, so you might as well just kill them off when it's opportune for you. So this is a bit of a bonus. It will be fixed in patch 1.8.1, but in 1.8, sectors did not have build robots turned on by default. You definitely want to make sure that that is turned on, otherwise there's going to be no pop growth in your sectors, and that would be unfortunate since that's the only way that your population is going to be growing, by building robots. So turn that on if you're on patch 1.8.1 or higher. Then just disregard this. Hooray! You made it to the end of the video. If you found the video helpful in one way or another, then please consider leaving a like so that the video can show up in search results and help even more people. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'll try my best to get back to you and actually answer questions as far as I can. If you have any tips, then please leave them in the comments so that other viewers can profit from your knowledge. And if you want to see more of my stuff, more of my Let's Plays, more of my tutorials, then please consider subscribing to the channel. And now, thanks for watching and bye-bye.